The next World of Warcraft expansion, The War Within, is right around the corner. That means that there may be a lot of things you want to get done before the next expansion is released. So in this video, I want to go over the top 5 things you may want to do to get ready for The War Within and to tidy up everything you've been doing in Season 4 of Dragonflight. But before these 5 tips, we need a precursor of the events that are going to happen leading into the expansion. So starting off on July 23rd, the pre-patch for The War Within is going to be released. Now on the 23rd, this is going to include the additions of warbands, all of the characters on your account being connected. You're able to transfer resources easily between all of your characters. You're going to have a connected warband bank and all of the other elements that are going to come with warbands. On the 23rd, we will also be getting the introduction of hundreds of new mounts being able to be used in the new sky riding system. Now this is the evolution of the dragon riding system from Dragonflight, and instead of just a handful of mounts being able to dragon ride, now there's going to be hundreds of different mounts that can sky ride, and you'll be able to easily switch between normal pre-Dragonflight flying and sky riding. Now the week after pre-patch begins, so on July 30th, we will be getting the pre-patch event, which is called Radiant Echoes. Now, if you've played any other pre-patch event, this event will be familiar to you. In different areas throughout the world, these Radiant Echo events will spawn. You go there, you complete events, you kill enemies, and this will all earn you a new currency where you can go spend at a vendor to get a bunch of cosmetics, including mounts, armors, pets, and then you'll also be able to purchase catch-up gear for all of your characters. All of this gear is now going to be warbound gear, meaning you can purchase these tokens or gear and put them in your warbound bank, so it's much easier for all of your alt characters to just go to your warbound bank and pick up all of the items they may need. So you'll easily be able to farm this event on one character if you're just looking to get all the cosmetics and gear up your alt. But also keep in mind the pre-patches are usually very strong for leveling up characters as well. And Radiant Echoes is going to last until August 26th, which is the full release date for the War Within expansion. But if you've also purchased the bigger edition of the War Within, you'll be able to start playing early access of the expansion on August 22nd. Now that brings us to our 5 tips in no particular order. Now number 5 is to level up any characters you're going to want to play in the War Within. Now the main reason for this being is that in the War Within, World of Warcraft is becoming much more alt-friendly because of warbands, because of warband banks, because of warbound gear, because of reputations being account-wide. All of this is tying into the game just being more alt-friendly. This means that you'll easily be able to play many more alternate characters and keep them up to date. And looking past the game just being much more alt-friendly, there's also a substantial amount of class and spec changes. There's some pretty significant overhauls to pretty much every spec in the game, including some much more substantial overhauls to class and spec trees for certain classes or specs. And then we also have all of the new hero talents, which for a lot of classes and specs are going to add a lot of new interesting mechanics to your existing rotations, like having mounted combat on a Death Knight, becoming a lightning god on a warrior, or just spamming hammers as a paladin. There's going to be a ton of new things to try out on every class and spec in the game, and you don't want to get to the War Within and then see someone else using a new hero talent that looks really cool on a class you don't already have at level 70. So this is a really good way to spend your time up until the expansion to level up whatever class you're going to want to try out. And you're in luck because this is the best time in WoW's history to level up new characters, whether it be a leveling up new characters when pre-patch hits, which is also going to include some pretty substantial reductions in the amount of experience you need to level up a character, or just going into remix and leveling up characters that way. I've gone over a ton of videos on how to level up extremely fast in WoW Remix, at some points being able to get max level in like 2 hours. And for me personally, I'm at minimum gonna have one of every class at level 70 just waiting for the War Within so I can try out anything that looks cool and interesting. And at number 4, you're going to want to go earn any of the rewards that are going to be removed when the War Within is launched. And there's a handful of different things here, starting with using your bullions from Season 4. If you haven't been playing any of Season 4, there was a new currency added that killing any raid boss, even in LFR, can give you this new bullion currency where you can go buy any of the rare raid rewards from the entirety of the expansion. So any of the trinkets, weapons, or rare drop items. And you can also use these bullions at a cosmetic vendor where you can buy the slime cap mount, which was from the final season of Shadowlands, or you're also able to buy any of the raid weapons from the entirety of the Dragonflight expansion. You can also buy any of the colors of the raid weapons. So you can buy the colors from LFR, normal, heroic, or mythic. And at this point of Season 4, you can go earn tons of bullions because they've been building up over the entirety of Season 4. Every new week, you could earn more bullions. So now you could just take a character and go run through every LFR wing for that week, and you'll get yourself a ton of bullions that you can go get a ton of different cosmetics with. And looking past that, you have all of the more season-specific rewards. So that would be earning all the different portals from completing all Mythic Plus dungeons at 10 or higher, or even going past that and earning your 2K rating in Mythic Plus to get the mount reward from that. And then you can also go complete all of the Awakened raids in Season 4 and earn the Wildling mount. So just any of the rewards or achievements, they're going to be going away when the War Within is released. You're going to want to go complete because there are some really cool rewards, especially some of the cosmetics that are going to go away at the end of Season 4. Now, number 3 is going to be a little bit different, and it's also going to tie into number 5. And this is to play the beta of the War Within if you have access. Now, the main reason to go and play the beta and try out different things is primarily to try out all of the new class and spec changes, try out all the hero talents, and see what you may like to play or what you may want to play once the War Within is released. Now, this is not to go play the story or to go quest through all the new quests and content, because I'm like a lot of other people where I don't want to spoil the story for myself while it's in beta. So I haven't gone through and played through all the quests, played through all the main story. That's something I personally haven't done and I personally won't be doing. But I have gone on the beta to try out a bunch of the changes for all the different specs I'm trying to play, to try out all the different hero talents, to see what's fun, to see how the rotations are for all of the different classes I'm trying to play, with the primary goal of seeing what I'm going to be maining in the War Within. This also gives you a really good opportunity to try out these different classes, these different specs, to try out all of these different changes with Season 1 gear, because if you don't know, if you go play the beta, you can get a max level character for the War Within, and you can also just get all of the Season 1 gear. You can go get your full tier set, you can go try out any of the raid or dungeon trinkets, and you can go buy full sets of PvP gear or weapons and get yourself a full set of gear to try out how that class, how that spec, how those new hero talents are going to feel with actually having some Season 1 gear. And this is a really big boon if you don't know what you're going to play in the War Within, because a spec can play substantially different comparing like leveling greens up to Season 1 raid or Mythic Plus gear. Some specs will feel completely different, getting all that haste, getting all that crit, and just becoming a lot more geared, and some specs will feel pretty similar, going from super low gear up to being fully raid geared. So going on beta and trying out all these classes geared up for the War Within is a big opportunity for the next expansion. And at number 2, we have what I like to call house cleaning. And this boils down to just getting your characters ready for the War Within. And this can include things like cleaning out your bags or your banks, getting rid of all of those old resources, removing all those quest items or old gear from Dragonflight, and just cleaning out your quest log. But this can also include things that you're definitely going to want to get done before the expansion is released, whether that be just setting up your UI from the base WoW UI that has received a big overhaul in Dragonflight, or whether that be downloading all the add-ons you're going to want to use and setting all of those up, like downloading ElvUI, completely setting up that UI, setting up your bars, setting up where you want everything on your screen, down to downloading a week Aura package for all the different specs you're going to want to play, setting all of that up, setting up your DBM bars so it doesn't show up in the middle of your screen when you start a dungeon in the War Within, even down to just cleaning out and deleting old add-ons you're not going to be using or that you haven't been using, all the way down to updating your add-ons when pre-patch hits. Because in World of Warcraft, the pre-patch is actually on the expansion client. So when pre-patch hits, that's actually going to be 11.0. So that means all the add-on makers can update their add-ons for the War Within expansion. So you'll be able to go and update all of your add-ons with their updated War Within versions, so you're ready to go when the War Within launches, and you're not going to be getting thousands of errors when the new expansion launches while you're trying to quest and follow the story. I would also recommend you have at least a chunk of gold on all of the characters you're going to be playing early on in the War Within. It's always annoying when you start a new expansion, you go do some dungeons, and you want to go buy an enchant or a gem for a piece of gear, and you don't have any gold, so you have to go look through all of your characters to try to find who has gold, and then send it to the character you want, log back on that person. It just becomes an annoying time sink, so just have the gold on the characters you want. You can also avoid this issue when pre-patch hits and warbands are introduced, because you can also just put a bunch of gold in your warband bank, and then any character on your account can go in that bank and access any of the gold you've put into that bank. And that would probably be the much easier way to go about this. And then I would also recommend you get buff food, flasks, and maybe even potions for when you're leveling through the War Within, because all of those items from Dragonflight are very cheap now and are going to continue to get more and more cheap as we get through pre-patch and get into the War Within. So you can just get yourself a bunch of additional power from buff food, flasks, and potions that will help you while leveling in the War Within to just be able to level and kill enemies much more quickly for a very small amount of gold investment. And for our final tip, we have to stop playing WoW. And I know this contradicts pretty much everything else we've gone over, but don't do anything on this list if it's going to burn you out or if you're already burnt out from playing WoW. Just stop playing until the War Within releases. You don't want to start a new expansion already being burnt out of WoW because you force yourself to play a bunch of hours and to get everything ready for the War Within, or to grind a bunch of dungeons or raids to get gear to level faster in the War Within. Don't burn yourself out doing anything to get ready for the War Within. Because even though everything I just went over can help you when starting the War Within, it can make everything a bit smoother, none of this is really going to have a massive impact in the long run. WoW is a pretty seasonal game, so having a bunch of really good gear going into the War Within isn't going to matter. You're going to start replacing that stuff halfway through leveling. Having a bunch of flasks and buff food on your character can help you level a bit quicker, but in the long run, it's not going to really matter. Going and getting all of your characters ready and setting up all their UI can save you a bit of time when the expansion is released, but again, it's not going to matter in the long run. So if any of this is going to make your time playing the War Within worse, just don't do it. Just stop playing, take a break, and wait till the day the War Within releases, get on, and just start questing. The start of new expansions are the best times in MMOs, and you want to be able to enjoy that when the expansion comes around, not to be burnt out from getting ready for the expansion. So just keep that in mind. Don't burn yourself out before the new expansion is released. Now, if getting ready is something you really enjoy doing and you're super hyped for the new expansion, go down this list, get yourself ready for the new expansion. That's something I've always enjoyed doing. It's not something that burns me out. I know for some people, they absolutely don't want to do this. So just take a break and come back on the day the expansion releases. But that's all the main tips I have for getting ready for a new World of Warcraft expansion. Doing all of this house cleaning, getting all my UI and add-ons ready for the new expansion is something I've been doing since like Wrath of the Lich King. It's something I personally enjoy doing. I like getting all of my characters ready, having all their buff food and flasks and everything ready to start the journey into the next expansion. So all the things in this list are things I'm going to be doing before the War Within. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.